What's the ultimate purpose of Ho'oponopono to you?
Yeah, it's to return us to divinity. In any moment, we can be receiving inspiration from the divine, or we can be receiving a memory. Memories are all the programs or all our past experiences. They're all waiting in our background of our consciousness, telling us this is how you go through life. This is what's helped you survive in the past. Those memories are there. More often than not, 99.999% of the time, when anybody takes an action, it's from a memory. It's something that worked before or something that's based on what worked before. What we want to do is clean all of those out so we can hear inspiration. Inspiration is a direct whisper from the divine. And so I would say the purpose of Ho'oponopono is to make us one with the divine so we can hear inspiration when it whispers in our heart.
This was several years ago. My mother was dying, and I was traveling, speaking, and all over the place. But everybody was being called back to Ohio. My mother was in the intensive care, and they were bringing people in because she was going to die. And we all went in that room. And here I am, travel weary, and I'm confused. And I'm the guy who talks about magic and miracles. And I'm thinking, I can't save her. So I've got that anger and I got that frustration. So I sit beside my mother in bed and I do Ho'oponopono. And I'm not doing it to heal her. This is the big mistake people do with Ho'oponopono, is that they direct it at the outside. And it has to be directed at the inside, realizing the source of the creation is in you. And it's tough to do, especially it's your mother laying there and I'm sitting beside her and I'm doing, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, inside myself. I just kept doing it. But the nurse had come in at one point and said we all had to leave, visiting hours were over, come back tomorrow. So we left. And I would say I was not in a place of total peace, but I was better. I felt like I had diluted a whole lot of my concern and my anxiety and my grief and got to a place more of trust. Like life and death are part of the life process. And I got more in alignment with that. Came back the next day, my mother's sitting on the side of the bed, putting her socks on, and she goes home. She lives for the next 4 years. Ho'oponopono is never about other people. It is only about you and your responses to your perceptions. So when you sit there and you ask the question, what about these other people and what do you tell them and so forth, you don't tell them anything. If you are disturbed or upset in any way, shape or form, or concerned about other people, all of that is in you. Your concern is in you. Your perception of them as having a problem or a need is in you. And what Ho'oponopono says is clean up you. Now, as you clean up you, doing Ho'oponopono, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, you may notice those outside people seem to shift and change, just like what happened at the mental hospital for the criminally insane. Dr. Hulen worked on himself, they changed, but only after he changed. People don't get that it's all about them. There's nobody else. There's just you. The rest of the world does not need to change. And when you change, the rest of the world starts to change. It's a little bit like Dr. Hulen. He's at that hospital by himself. He didn't wait for a group of people to come in and say, oh, we all now have to align and think the same way in order to paint new walls in this hospital. He looked at Ho'oponopono, he looked at it all coming from him, and he realized he was the only change that was needed. Ho'oponopono mostly goes in there and does a search and find as a kind of command to get to the beliefs and then erase those beliefs so you are free of the problem. And what happens from doing all of this is magically, miraculously, and in ways I have yet to been able to fully explain, the outer world changes. People don't get that it's all about them. There's nobody else. There's just you. The rest of the world does not need to change. And when you change, the rest of the world starts to change. It's a little bit like Dr. Hulen. He's at that hospital by himself. He didn't wait for a group of people to come in and say, oh, we all now have to align and think the same way in order to paint new walls in this hospital. He looked at Ho'oponopono. He looked at it all coming from him.
Ho'oponopono. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. If you haven't heard of it, brace yourself, because it's the most powerful, the most transformational, the most magical, the most miraculous technique I've ever come across. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. I've written 80 books. I've recorded 15 albums. I have 200 some products. I have a coaching program, certification programs, but nothing ever has had the impact in my life as Ho'oponopono has. I've been teaching it to other people since around 2005. There is great depth to it, though it's very simple. On the very superficial level, there's really only 4 phrases, and you're kind of saying them as a quiet prayer or petition. But there's so much more to it than that. And what I really want you to do is check it out. I want you to check it out for you, your family, your friends, and ultimately for the world. It's that powerful. And as I like to say, expect miracles.